inform the public, everyone, but most particularly the people who are directly affected. So today, I brought many members of our team together to talk about the current monitoring that's underway, and to really answer any outstanding questions that may still be out there. Today, I have experts from the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, the Ohio Department of Health, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Ohio Department of Agriculture, Ohio Department of Public Safety, the Ohio Emergency Management Agency, the Ohio Department of Transportation, and the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. They're all in the room with me today. Let me go back to February 3rd, 8:55 p.m. when the train wreck occurred. While traveling through East Palestine on Friday night, February 3rd, a north-southern train derailed, causing a massive fire. Around 50 railroad cars were impacted by the crash, including 10 that were hauling hazardous materials. In addition to the fire, there was also serious environmental concerns. U.S. EPA and the Ohio EPA worked to slow the flow of contaminated water, while firefighters worked to extinguish the blaze. By that Sunday, 2 days later, concerns began to arise in regard to the temperature in one of the cars. I was on a conference call that night around 7:30 when that information was first given to me. Based on the conversations that I was hearing and information, it was clear that more assistance was needed in that East Palestine. And so I activated the Ohio National Guard to go there, which they did very, very quickly. I was also informed on that call about the car where the temperature was described as very volatile, and at that moment was in fact rising. The fear was that this car might explode, sending deadly shrapnel in all directions. The next morning, I traveled to East Palestine. I met with those on the ground, those who had been working, those who represented the railroad, as well as the federal government. It was clear at that point that we were faced with two bad options. One option was to do nothing and wait for the car to explode. I had discussion with the representatives of the railroad, extended discussion. I brought Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro in that through my cell phone, and we went back and forth for a couple hours, trying to just weigh the risk, one versus the other. The risk of the car exploding was described to me as high probability that it could explode. And when I pressed everyone to give me the information about, and also give Governor Shapiro the information, she was on the cell phone listening and asking questions, it came back that the concern was that this would be a catastrophic, what was described as a catastrophic explosion of the car, which would result in shrapnel going out up to close to a mile. We also looked at what the danger was from a controlled release, which is what the railroad felt should be done. Again, Governor Shapiro and I spent considerable time, up to about 2 hours, as I recall, asking a lot of questions about how that would take place. We had the benefit of the Ohio National Guard that had done a modeling exercise. They did that in conjunction with the U.S. Defense Department, who gave them some additional information and help in regard to the modeling. The modeling was then produced into a map, I believe, that we showed everyone that day when we had a press conference. There was a red area that they described as the likelihood of death within that red area would be very high. There's an area outside that, the yellow area, where they also described it would be very dangerous to be there, but not quite as dangerous as it was within the red area. We then made the decision to go ahead with the second option, which was the controlled release. As that was being prepared to be done, we sent back law enforcement into those zones, the red zone and the yellow zone, for the third time to literally knock on doors. And they described how they did it to me. They did it in very loud, did everything they could do to get, if there's anyone left in that house, to get their attention to come out. That was the third time that those houses, I believe, had been contacted. The individuals in those houses had been contacted. The controlled release did it in fact occur. It was, to my understanding, delayed a little bit. There was actually, when we at 3 o'clock, release was supposed to be at 3:30. We wanted to get everybody out of there. We had members of the Guard and the patrol and others who had the area cordoned off. We told them to leave there at 3 o'clock. Unfortunately, there was a couple of cars that came in, and they had to go get them out of that impacted area, or what would be an impacted area. So the release occurred, as I recall, about 4:15, 4:20. And we, were monitoring the air outside that area, and the air continued to be good. Fast forward to the time when we opened it back up a couple of days later. We had sent in members of the Ohio National Guard and had their protective suits on to measure the air. And no one went back within that area or was allowed back in that area until they could come back and tell us that the monitoring was consistently good. In fact, the monitoring showed that the air was basically what it was prior to the actual train crash, what we would have expected it to be at that time. People were then let back in. Our environmental teams remain in East Palestine, where they're working directly with the railroad and others to ensure that the site is thoroughly cleaned up with no shortcuts. This morning, I called Alan Shaw, CEO of Norfolk Southern. He and I have had contact numerous times since the crash. I discussed with him many of the concerns that we're hearing from residents of East Palestine. I asked him directly if he would personally guarantee that the railroad would stay there until absolutely everything was cleaned up. He gave me his word and his commitment that the railroad would do that. They would not leave until that was done.